I just start bawling because I was like, I could not think of anything to make. I was just like, what am I doing? I'd started getting, quite interested in desserts and that really technical kind of cooking. And my son's father and their family was really into, just Indian flavors, like throwing his spices into a pot and kind of, no recipe. And I was just like, what are you doing? Like, how do I write this down? And, really interested in that side of cooking. So then it was a few years later living back in London, and I was at back to modeling kind of after my son was born, and I just realized that it wasn't fueling my soul. I think I was so lucky and blessed to be able to travel the world and get to experience cultures, but I got to the point where I was just feeling like it wasn't my true path of what I wanted to do. And one day I said I want to become a chef. And so I was like, give myself some time, start to study. I did some courses at Le Cordon Bleu. I was coming home and, bringing home these French dishes. And my son's grandmother was making these beautiful Indian dishes. And it was like this battle to get the food on the table, whose was better. And everyone always chose the Indian dishes because they're just so beautiful and flavorsome. And I just fell in love with Indian cuisine and the culture and the food and everything about it. Yeah, it was kind of just a really strange thing that happened. I just, we were living in London at the time and really wanted to come back to Australia. And I was kind of like, if I get into MasterChef, can we move back to Australia? And I ended up applying, and I didn't think that I had enough skills to go through the process. I was again very nervous, and I guess it's kind of strange going from a model to in this industry. I knew that I really had to kind of prove myself and work really hard, so I studied a lot and I took it very seriously. And I got into MasterChef and completely changed my career and my future. I just really went all in, and I didn't, I just had a very clear and direct goal that I wanted to go into the food industry. And I think, I'm lucky in the sense that my mind is very, I get quite obsessed, I suppose. So food I became very obsessed with, and I knew how big of an opportunity MasterChef was. So I did so much preparation. I knew that I wanted to do well and prove myself in the competition. And going into it, living in the house and all of that, I was studying and, doing all of that along the way. I really did want to give it the best chance that I could. And it's an incredible show, and I know how life-changing it can be. So I didn't want to waste that opportunity. I was away from my son while I was in the show, so I didn't want to take it lightly. And I definitely threw everything at the show. I remember the day before going into MasterChef, my mum and my family were like, let's just put a mystery box episode on and watch it. And I remember like watching all the contestants lift the box off, and I'm looking at the ingredients and I just start bawling because I was like, I could not think of anything to make. I was just like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? I was so nervous going into the show. And it's like I don't know what I expected out of the show, but I knew that I would have to push myself. I knew it would be challenging, and I was ready to do that. Yeah, I was just going along for the ride, and I was quite young and I was ready to kind of push myself. And yeah, I don't know what I expected to come from the show, to be honest. It was kind of like, you've been given kind of all of these tools, and it's like, where do I go from here? And so one of my dishes that I cooked on the show was aloo gobi. So it's basically like a home food or a village food from Punjab. And I didn't realize at the time how big MasterChef Australia is in India. It's basically one of the number one watched Australian shows or English shows in India. And the night I cooked that dish, I had like 50,000 followers on my social media overnight. And I was just like, is this spam? Like, what's going on? Like, how is this possible? And I knew immediately that I already had that strong connection with India, that I wanted to travel to India and see what's going on there. And when I landed in India, I was just blown away with the support. I mean, I was being recognized as soon as I got off the plane, everywhere, my first cooking demonstration was like, it was a private cooking demonstration, and there was somehow everyone found out about it, and there's lines like going out of the store down the street, and I was just like hyperventilating. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? This is just, the support was just insane. And, I'd never given an autograph before in my life other than signing my bank card. And, I was like, oh gosh, I better practice this. Like, what's going on? The best thing about the show is that it is such an inspiring show, and the people that follow you genuinely follow you for your career and for your talent. And so in saying that, you get an instant kind of credibility from that, because people have sort of followed your journey. So for me, yeah, it was just kind of, I hit the ground running, and I really worked hard. I wrote a cookbook before the show went to air, because I was like, I want to make sure that I have something to kind of give value to the people that end up following, if anyone follows me after the show finishes airing. And yeah, I was really proactive with kind of getting things ready after the show. And yeah, it's such an incredible opportunity. Well, yesterday I got to meet the Prime Minister of India one-on-one, and sit down and have a conversation and, have a chat. And I'm just like, what is going on? Like, this is the biggest population in the world, and I'm sitting down with the Prime Minister having a conversation about, what I've done today, having a conversation about all the knowledge I've gained from India. He's talking to me about things that he sees for me as, going forward in my future. He's asking me questions, what I think about how people feel about Indian cuisine. And I'm just like, is this really happening? Like, what is going on here? It's so strange when you're doing your work to look up and go, oh, okay, wow, like I should be proud of what I'm doing. And I think meeting the Prime Minister yesterday was definitely like, yeah, the highest possible acknowledgement of what I've been doing in my work, and kind of, yeah, it's just like a boost to say, yeah, I'm on the right track and I'm doing something great. And just to be sort of acknowledged was really, really special, and such a huge honor, and quite unbelievable. I always kind of relate it to giving birth, because it's like you forget the pain, you only remember the good times. No, I was like, this stress of going back into the show, like, I guess there's different layers to it this time. Now I've gone and I've worked in the industry. I need to obviously cook well, because it's like kind of like, oh, I guess it's solidifying whether, reinforcing what I've done in my career. Going back into that season, I did not expect to get out of it what I did. And yeah, feel very, very lucky. And again, it's like that something in the universe is, directing us, if we listen to it, to take these opportunities. And yeah, I got so much out of the next season. I'm the most thankful for MasterChef for giving me the confidence and, the tools to follow a dream that is really quite powerful. I think food is something that connects people from all over the world, and it's such an incredible industry to be a part of, and to follow a career that's really meaningful and that gives back and connects people, and yeah, MasterChef absolutely did that for me. The number one thing on my vision board, which I think that if you speak to chefs, it definitely takes a long time in your career to achieve it, but that opening that restaurant that is purely me, and that refined cooking style that takes, I think, decades to kind of hone in on. And that's that cooking style of, what I've come to really hone in on through, Jock's guidance and George's in the first season, of my love of Indian flavors and very regional ingredients and flavors of India, and bringing that into my cooking style, which, honing in on those French techniques and bringing those flavors together. And feels like, when I put those dishes on the table, they're the hardest to put on the table, because it's like a piece of you that you're putting on the table. So you get judged on that, it's very emotional and powerful. So for me, that's the dream. And I feel like each I feel like each year I'm getting closer to that point to have enough skills and experience in the industry to be able to do that. So that's my bucket list is, you know, I've got the name of the restaurant, I can see the restaurant style, I've started all of the menu items, and it's just working on those, and they take time and experience and honing in on those. So that's the dream. And, you know, I think I'll definitely be kind of, you know, dedicating it to all the love and support I've had in India, and my mum, and to Jock and George, who have really helped me to kind of hone in on that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that.